Hello dear students, today we will have a lecture with the topic physical education. During this class we will consider the main points of the content of healthy physical activity and other health-related issues. As other subjects, physical education brings to you not only theory but also practice. But the specific for physical education is that during practical classes, you will get necessary skills, knowledge, and some theoretical preparation to be successful in your physical activity and participation in different sport events. Physical education is a formal setting from which students construct knowledge of physical activity, fitness, sports, and movement. The process of physical education introduces for students a vast field of knowledge and practice, opening up physical activities, recreation, adapted physical activities, and sports, and many others. Knowledge is at the heart of physical literacy and should be learned and applied by learners to make innovation rather than simply possessed as an outcome of physical education. For example, learning how to learn. This quotation tells us that physical education is just one part of the all the learning that we are maintain during our young years, but also during our whole lifespan. That's why this subject is so unique, that it opens up a vast field of different exercises, of different movements, of various nature of this movement. It could be not only jogging or running, but also it can be swimming. So during this development as an athlete or just amateur of different kind of sports, you can get involved not only in sport participation, I mean be an active athlete, but also research, try to find out how your body can work in different environments and conditions. Such as, for example, as in swimming, when you are swim in water or underwater, you learn how to dive, you discover the ocean or sea, you discover how your body buoyancy interact with the water that in what you are submerged, and so on. The same with other kinds of sports and exercises. Additionally, physical education brings to you theory about knowledge of sport preparation, sport training, how to maximize your conditions, your capacities, how to exercise in a proper way in order to achieve the highest point of in races or in swimming and so on. Also, physical education brings to you knowledge about how to prepare yourself psychologically. For example, some kind of sport events such as long distance running require from athlete psychological attitude, psychological preparation, load tolerance, and so on. And also, this subject brings to you information, knowledge about nutrition, what is necessary to get daily to make organism function well, how to correct nutrition this daily, depending on the seasons of the year. For example, if there is a winter and you are resident on the north, so you need more vitamin C, maybe vitamin D because of lack of sun, and maybe you need more energy, more carbohydrates in your diet to stay healthy during winter time. All these health related issues are considered in physical education too. Also, about recovery, how to recover faster between or after training sessions. Physical education can give you this knowledge and also skills, to form skills how you can control your state of physical state based on this knowledge and these techniques. Recreation, of course, being physically active when you have a leisure time, and how to maximize your recovery and your mental relief from stressful situation, stressful studies, stressful work, and so on. It's also one of the key functions of physical education classes. If you are not recovered well, you can't perform efficiently. You can maximize your productivity during day work or day study. That's why recreation is so important. Adapt physical activity also are considered very tightly in physical activity, and it allow people with some disabilities or temporary disabilities to be involved in a physical activity process. It also brings people relief, satisfaction, brings people feeling of happiness, and so on. That's why it's so important not to be apart from physical activity, but try to find the way how to be involved in this process and make it real, to perform any kind of movement, any kind of activities, whatever you like. Sometimes some kinds of sports are quite difficult to be efficient in, or it's difficult to learn a new technique. But even in this circumstance, physical activity allows us some evidently based technique or methodology how to learn faster or how to correct our movements. And by this process of improvement or development, we can actually enjoy this process, enjoy this journey of physical education or physical activity. So the point is not to run 100 meters with 13 seconds, or to go to weightlifting gym and to make up 12 catch-ups or 50 push-ups. It's important too, but it's not the priority, because the priority of physical education is to build a character, to help students, and also generally to help people to be involved in physical activity and bring diversity to their life, to open up a vast field of physical activity with a huge variety of kinds of sport, and all open up also different methods, techniques, useful tools, how to stay healthy or even improve our health. This is the priority. This is the point of physical education. So, in other words, it actually does not matter what your physical state is right now, but what matters is your attitude towards being healthy, towards being active physically, and towards learning something new. So now let's talk a little bit about components of a physical activity session. Every physical activity session should follow a systematic approach that includes a warm-up, main physical activity, and cool-down. This approach helps to ensure participant safety by preparing the body for the demands of physical activity and by providing a mechanism for a gradual reduction in workload at the end of the session. Of course, during this class, we will just go through slightly in this topic and consider one or the other. But during the process itself, when we will have a practice or other lectures, or you will inquire some tips or consultation, of course, you will get more insight in all these components. But generally, it looks like this. Very simple, but also very deep and rich of meaning. Warm up. Actually, the beginning of the physical education class starts with some organizational questions or information, informing students. But after that, starts actually the movement part with warming up. Warm up is a low intensity activity done before a full effort and should be organized to meet the goals of the main physical activity. The primary purpose of the warm-up is to prepare the participant for the moderate to vigorous physical activity that will occur during the session. Properly warming up before and cooling down after physical activity may also prevent injuries and aid in post-exercise recovery. So, practically, a warming up procedure usually can last from 8 to 15 minutes, depending on the level of student physical preparation, physical state, how well he or she trained is, what's the goal of this training session, also matters a lot. Low intensity during warming up allows students to avoid some traumatic situations and gradually increase intensity and mobilize cardiovascular and respiratory systems to make them and body itself ready for more intensive movement task. During warming up also, according to the goals of this training session, some muscle groups could be activated more than others, because when you perform in warming up, you think about the core exercises that will come later on the main part of this training session. A cool down. A proper cool down includes a period of light activity following exercise that allows the body to slow down and return to near resting levels. Students must understand that the body needs this gradual recovery following exercise to reduce muscle stiffness and soreness, remove lactic acid, and prevent lightheadedness, dizziness, or even fainting. A proper cool down lasts about 7 to 15 minutes, and usually the intensity of cool down procedure is lower than in warming up time of training. Also, stretching muscle that was intensively working during the main part of training could facilitate recovery, because when muscle is stretching, the muscle stiffness reduces. Also, blood circulation enhanced. Some metabolic substances that are toxic, their removal from the muscle tissue intensified too by stretching exercises. And during cool down performed in a proper way, the recovery procedure lasts much more shorter and more efficiently. Depending on the content of main part of training, cool down procedure could be varied. The more intense main part was, the longer, the more time should take cooling down procedure. Continued light activity facilitates recovery by making blood in the veins back towards the heart. An abrupt cessation of exercise facilitates pooling of blood in the extremities and decreases the return flow of blood to the heart, and subsequently to the brain, leaving the person susceptible to fainting. Stretching exercises should also be performed during the cool down, because muscles are warmest and most pliable then, providing maximum benefit toward improving flexibility. One of the most important meaning of cool down is facilitation of functioning of cardiovascular system, because by stretching, by low intensity movements, muscle pump, the muscle groups that are contracting, they pump metabolic substances out of muscle tissue, and by this facilitate toxic metabolic substances utilization. And also it facilitate blood recovery to the heart and cardiovascular system functioning as well. Also, it facilitates balance in blood distribution, and in case of brain blood circulation, it would also protect us with intense workload from fainting. As was mentioned before, stretching is a wonderful tool for recovery, and stretching exercises enrich cool down procedure, but also it improves our flexibility as well. That's why it's so important to introduce stretching exercises when our muscle groups are warmest and more pliable, and it will provide us with much more progressive improvement in our flexibility. Now let's talk about diet. Of course, nutrition and diet is a very vast field in physical education, but let's consider this class as a short and brief introduction of this vast field. Of course, when we will have a practical classes and more theory, we can consider it more precisely. But for now, it should be mentioned that diet is the total intake of food and beverage consumed, and no single food item or meal defines the diet. Good nutrition is vital to good health and is essential for the healthy growth and development of children and adolescents. Food habits are learned early and change throughout life. Eating habits and preferences established by adolescents tend to carry into adulthood. These are the evidence, and based on these points, we should try to correct our eating habits by replacement some food that is not so healthy for us, or food that poor in relation to some vitamins and or minerals, and replace it by more healthy food that can give our organism more sometimes energy, more vitamins, more minerals, and other substances that are necessary for well functioning of our body, of our organism. And during physical education, we will get not only a strict regulations what is healthy and what is not, but general understanding, general pathways, recommendations. How can we build up our diet, everyday meals, and how to stay healthy by paying more attention for the food products that we are getting to cook and to eat. In order to change or replace the food products that we are buying, we are cooking, we are eating, we need to know exactly what factors can influence our choice, or why our eating habits are such as a present. So many factors can affect food choices. Of course, habit. By habit, we can make it much more easier and much more simple to follow our energy, vitamins, minerals intake without any effort. So we choose what to eat without even sometimes thinking about it. But understanding that this is the habit, and understanding that some food is not healthy, gives us opportunity to decide that there will be no longer any kind of food that is unhealthy in our diet, and we should replace it by something more healthy. By understanding this and by making decision, this is the first step that we can take in order to improve our health. Emotional factors such as happiness or stress also can influence a lot our food choice. Sometimes when we are happy, we can choose one type of food. When we are on stress, we can choose sometimes not so healthy food, as for example chocolate. We can eat much more chocolate to um, cover up these stressful feelings, but it could actually make no good for our health. And by making this choice of unhealthy food very frequent, we can actually contribute a lot to forming a bad habit, a habit when we eat not healthy food. Convenience, nutrition knowledge also are food choices, factors that can affect food choices. The more we know about nutrition, the more skills we possess about nutrition and how to eat right, the more successful we are in our healthy diet maintenance. That is why it's so important to not consider healthy diet as a final goal, but to consider this as a process, as a journey with the destination of better health. So every day we should work on it. We should think and consider and decide what is healthy and what is not, and just follow this whole routine. So it's everyday process with our conscious choice. Time limitations sometimes are factors that affect our food choice, because sometimes it's quite impossible to find a time to cook or to go to the cafeteria with some salad or fresh meal. Sometimes we just buy a chocolate bar and buy a Coca-Cola, and with these food products we have a meal. But is it healthy? Well, I don't think so. So time limitations can affect very critically our food choice. But if we know when we have a stressful time and time limitation, we actually can plan just beforehand and to make some correction, probably to make some salad by ourselves in a food container, bring it, and a flask of water too. And it's much more better for our meal than, for example, chocolate bar and some soda beverage, soda drinks. Also, religious beliefs also could be factors for food choices, but it's actually the personality and individuality plays a role in the decision that should be made. Socioeconomic factors such as cost of food and availability of food also are very strong factors, strict factors that affect our food choice. And sometimes it's quite difficult to have a meal with enough fruits and vegetables and fresh ones, and enough proteins. So just by replacing it by more energy nutrition, it could give us opportunity to provide our body with moderate conditions in the way that we can work more efficient every day. But the necessity of some vitamins and the necessity of minerals and proteins is essential. And if we postpone intake of some, for example, fresh fruits, it will actually cost us some health issues. decrease in our productivity, and feelings, decrease in our attitude, in our mood. We could actually feel ourselves not so happy if we lack some vitamins. That's why socioeconomic factors sometimes can play a very critical role in our choice of the food. Advertising, ethnicity also could play a role. Advertising actually make people to buy some soft drinks, soda drinks, and some chocolate bars and other types of food that is tastes good, and but on the other hand, it brings nothing in relation to the health of our body, of our organism. That's why we should always think about the food, try to find out what components this kind of food contains, and follow our knowledge, our skills, and make a decision. Is it worth it to buy this kind of food and eat it on the everyday basis, or should I buy it just once a week or once a month in order to stay healthy? And on the other hand, to just to bring a diversity in my diet variations. Learned behaviors. Learned behaviors also play a major role. If we learn, if we know, so we can learn. So if we know that healthy lifestyle is good, it can bring out us satisfaction, joy. It can bring pleasure. We can participate in different kinds of sport. We can be more productive, more successful in our life by regular physical activity, and by introducing more healthy food in our ration, in our diet. So we can learn this behavior with healthy physical activity, with the healthy diet. So this is very important. That's why physical education classes are sometimes so critical in determining what steps should be taken and in what direction. Genetics plays a major role. Actually, our health, our body weight, body height, and other parameters of our physical state genetically determined. Genetically determined means that we cannot change it significantly, but we can make some changes anyway. Some insignificant, some slight, but we can. And as I said before, the process itself, that's the point. So it does not matter how strong we are, how high we are, and so on. The point is the process itself. If we are taking steps in the way to become more healthy, more physically active, more physically educated, if we are trying to learn new technique in sport games, in volleyball, for example, to learn and to acquire skills how to manage our healthy diet. So this is the goal, to participate, no matter what the final goal we can achieve, because each of us are unique and individual. So the goals should be, and very often are, very different. But if we are all involved in this process, we actually can feel ourselves and happy and satisfied and more healthier. So genetics plays a major role, but uh, our our willpower that is demonstrated during physical activity and healthy lifestyle plays a major role. Health factors are also are important because sometimes people with heart diseases or some with diabetes and others health issues, sometimes very severe, also should be considered the situations, and some diet corrections should be undertaken. If it's a diabetes, so sometimes sugar replacement must be taken into account. Cardiovascular diseases should be also undertaken the consultation with the physician, with cardiologist, and so on. But a total ignorance of physical activity is actually the way to even make the situation worse. Physical activity is our inherent quality and inherent need for physical activity. So despite of physical limitations, health impairments, physical activity, even on a very low level, should be presented on our everyday basis. This is a critical factor for recovery, for healing, and to keep in a positive mood, a positive attitude towards our life, despite health impairments. Most foods have nutrient value and may fit into a healthful diet. In making sure that a person takes in good nutrition, the primary goals are to, firstly, to provide a variety of nutrient-dense foods and beverages. Second, supply all nutrients in adequate amounts by adopting a balanced eating pattern. And thirdly, supply recommended caloric intake within energy needs to maintain an ideal body weight. So these three main points give us a general orientation how to manage our healthy diet. By the way, as a feedback of this brief presentation of the content of our subject, I would like you to go to the test questions to get to know what's the kind of what the quality of information you are getting and what the score you can achieve. If you have any questions, you can also write down. The same Moodle platform and the course description that presented below is the way how you can make a contact with me. So thank you very much for your attention and see you soon.